What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down how quarterbacks can add 20 more yards to their deep throws. We're going to be taking a look at Bryce Young and Aaron Rodgers' throwing mechanics and how you guys could pick up pieces of their motion and add it to your game. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a QB and you guys would like to improve your football IQ, check out that very first link in the description below where you could get access to 500 videos just like this one where we break down how quarterbacks can read defenses. We organize each 3 to 5 minute long video into specific categories like man coverage, cover 2, cover 3, so the information is easy for you guys to access and easy to understand. So check out that very first link in the description below, fellas, if you'd like to become a smarter quarterback. Let's get started with this video. So this first clip here, like I said, is going to be from Bryce Young. This is a deep pass that he throws to Adam Thielen. So I know everybody knows that obviously Bryce Young is not the biggest guy in the world, right? 5'9", 5'10", however big he is. And he's able to put a lot of distance on the ball, a lot of velocity on the ball. So how is he able to do that, not being the most physically talented guy? Because it's easy to look at guys like Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, very well-built guys, and they obviously put a ton of velocity on the ball. But what about those shorter quarterbacks who don't weigh that much? How are you guys able to get velocity and power? And that comes from your throwing mechanics, more specifically your throwing sequence. So your throwing sequence is broken down into 4 parts. The first part is going to be your base. The second part is going to be your front stride. Third part is the hips. And then the fourth part is your shoulders and the football coming through. And it has to happen in that specific order. So let's start with the base here, right? And we're going to compare and contrast Bryce Young's motion to Aaron Rodgers' motion. And it's very, very similar the way both of these guys create power. And obviously everybody knows how good Aaron Rodgers is. So when Bryce Young goes to throw, I want you to pay attention to where his base is. You see how his back leg is located underneath his back shoulder, underneath his back hip. He's got probably about 70% of his weight loaded onto the back leg. This is exactly where I would teach quarterbacks to get their weight to. You see how his shin is completely straight. He doesn't have that knee cave in with his back shin where all of his weight is forward. His weight is loaded back and his back foot is located underneath his body frame and underneath his shoulder. That is the exact spot that we want to get to. Now, why is that important? Why is this the first part of a quarterback base? Because when all of your weight is loaded on your back leg like this makes it very easy when the front foot gets down for you to rotate through. So many quarterbacks stand with an overly wide base, like their feet will be outside of their shoulders. They have this really wide, like surfboard stance. And when your feet are super wide, you cannot rotate at your hips. All of your power, fellas, is generated from your hips and your legs. But it's not so much about just rotating with your hips and just rotating with your legs. It's about the timing. Can you get those hips to rip through before the shoulders and before the football? And that can only happen if you have that good base. And now, secondly, it can only happen if you have that good stride. So when you're in that base, it's very tempting for a lot of quarterbacks to take this back foot and try to push. And they have this really overly long stride. This is why quarterback coaches used to teach having this really wide base, because they would say, well, now, since you have this wide base, you could push as hard as you want off of your back foot and your front foot will be out there to catch you. But what they don't understand is that because your feet are super wide, you're not getting any power from your hips anyways. You're trying to create ground force, but ground force is not how quarterbacks throw the ball. We get power from rotational force, aka your hips. So when you guys go to throw and your weight is back, we're not thinking about pushing at all. We're thinking about stepping down. How quickly can you get your front foot to hit the grass? Because now when your back foot is under your frame and your front foot makes contact with the grass, all of a sudden you're in a position where your feet, and this might be even a little bit too wide for Bryce Young here. Normally he's got a very much so narrow base, but still I want you to pay attention to how his hips are able to rotate through because of where the back foot was and because of the timing of the front foot. Because that front foot gets down because now when your feet are underneath your shoulders, your base started in a good spot, now you can rotate. Your feet get too wide outside your shoulder frame, you can't rotate. And again, when your weight is loaded onto your back leg and you are taking that quick step with your front foot, that's where the third and the fourth part of the throwing sequence come into play, because that's how you create something called torque. This stride is probably the most important thing for quarterbacks. Base and stride. It sets up the rest of the motion. Because to generate power, quarterbacks, you should be thinking of it like you're hitting a baseball. If you're holding a baseball bat back here and you step to the pitcher, does the bat come through the same time you step? No, but so many quarterbacks throw like they would do that with a baseball bat. Hitters and quarterbacks generate power the same way. It's about torque and hip and shoulder separation. The hips bring the shoulders through. So when your front foot gets down, you should be going back with the football. You should be taking the ball back into your backstroke, getting to this like opposite L. Maybe you're a little bit above the L. I just don't like the lift straight to 90, but I like some kind of backstroke, and your front shoulders should be closed as the front foot makes contact with the ground. So now, because you had a good base, because your feet were inside of your frame, you were able to rotate your shoulders back and get some rotation with your hips, all because of where your base was. Front foot gets down, shoulders go back. But because you're in a good base, now what rotates through first? Your hips rotate first. When you get to this position where you could draw literally a C from the football to your back foot, that means you are in a powerful rotational force position. And that is all based on the timing of this hip rotation. Your hips go through after the front stride, but before the shoulders go through. And that all has to do with your base, your weight distribution, and the length of your stride. And this is how you guys can increase distance on your deep ball. If you can get to that position, because now the shoulders in the football, which is the fourth part of the sequence, is coming through last, that is a whip. There is so much energy there. When your front foot gets down, fellas, and your shoulders go back, hips lead the shoulders. Shoulders rip on through. Release rips on through. There's so much of a whip to that it makes it effortless, takes pressure off your arm, and you will get more distance. So remember where we started with the throwing sequence. Remember, it's all about base. Then we need a short stride. Your feet should stay inside your frame. Then as you take that short stride, because you have weight on your back leg, that allows you to rotate your shoulders properly, taking the football back, loading the football, just like a baseball bat. And then since we took a short stride, since we had a base that was under my frame, your hips are able to rotate, and those hips bring the shoulders and the ball through. That is the gist of how you guys can create power. That is why Bryce Young is able to throw the ball so far for his size. He's not that 6'5" Cam Newton style quarterback who just muscles the ball out there. He's very smooth. He has efficient mechanics. And again, at the end of the day, it's more so about accuracy and having a sustainable arm strength and velocity. I don't care if you could throw the ball a million miles an hour on the first 10 throws. On the last 10 throws, you're still going to have that same velocity. And you will if you are using your body and emphasizing the principles of the throwing sequence. So let's look at this example again for Bryce Young. Perfect base, great stride, great hip timing, and the shoulders and the arm just fall into suit right behind. So now we're going to look at this insanely challenging throw here from Aaron Rodgers. Now, everybody knows how good Aaron Rodgers is. Everybody knows he's probably got one of the strongest arms in the game. It's him, Allen, Mahomes. And let's watch how he generates power. Because again, he's not that like freak athlete looking type guy. You know what I mean? He's not super buffed out like Richardson or Will Levis, who both can throw monster throws. He's just, like, obviously, he's an NFL athlete. Obviously, he's a crazy athlete. But he's just kind of, like a regular-looking dude. Like, it's not like he's got this crazy build, crazy arm strength. It's not like he's 6'7". So watch how he's able to throw this just dart across the field. Let's pay attention to his throwing sequence. This is like almost off of his back foot. It's actually not off his back foot because he has the right throwing sequence and he's able to rotate. But it almost looks like he's off his back foot. Like, I don't think you guys understand how hard it is to retreat this way and throw a crossing route almost freaking across the field. Like that's an impossible throw for 99% of all quarterbacks, right? So let's look at his throwing mechanics. Let's look at his throwing sequence. So where is his base? Where is his back foot located? Because remember, that's the first part. That's what we'll always start with. His back foot is located under his shoulder. Is his knee caved this way? No, his shin is completely straight, and he's got about 70% of his weight on his back leg right here. Maybe about 60%. I would say 60 to 70 is where you want to be. And he's very light on his front foot. So that's a good base. Now, what needs to happen next? It's going to be the stride. So the stride gets down. See how the stride touches the ground. Where is his weight still? Loaded on the back leg. What are his shoulders doing and what's the football doing? He's closing his shoulder and he's going back with the football. So now he's loaded, guys. It's like the baseball swing, right? You step to the pitcher, and then now what's next is his hips are going to bring the bat through, or the hips are going to bring the ball through. And the only reason he's able to go back with his base is because he's not pushing to create the stride. Remember, the stride is a separate event from the back leg drive and the back hip drive. A lot of quarterbacks can't get to dissociation because to create that front stride, they push off of their back foot. But guys, that makes all of your weight shift forward. You need to keep your weight loaded onto your back leg like Bryce Young and Aaron Rodgers here. Keep your weight back so you could rotate your shoulders back and stay loaded back here. So when the front foot gets down, now all we got to worry about is transferring my weight. The hips coming through. And you see, you have that same C curve with Aaron Rodgers and with Bryce Young. And it's all about the timing. It's about the timing of your hips. Where is your base? Does your base allow you to rotate with your hips? Does the foot strike time up with the football going back and your weight staying back? And then the hips just bring everything on through. Guys, all these quarterbacks, I'll tell you this right now. Every single all 32 NFL starters have different ways of throwing the football. Like you look at Aaron Rodgers, he's holding this ball down by his waist. There are probably quarterback coaches that hate this because they're the, hold the ball up by the ear type guys. Guys, everybody's different. Everybody's got a different body type. Everybody has a different throwing motion. Everybody's made up differently, right? It's just the way people were made. But the way they generate power is very similar. All 32 NFL starters generate power in a very, very similar way, and that's what you should be trying to replicate to your game. Get as efficient as you possibly can. Get as much velocity and distance as you possibly can with your own unique throwing motion. And that comes down to your base, the timing of the foot strike, your shoulders going back, and your hips ripping you through. So let's play this again full speed one more time. This is a monster throw from Roger, and this is a perfect example of what having a great throwing sequence can allow you to do and some of the throws it will allow you to make. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like 500 3 to 5 minute long videos on how you can read defenses, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to help you guys improve your football IQ. Again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.